parents, what is most ducked up secret you are hiding from your children? That we are divorced. Years before they came along, spouse and I decided it wasn't working out and got divorced. Years later, things still weren't working out fantastically for both of us, so we got back together. Never did get around to getting remarried though. What are you gonna do when they fill out forms for FAFSA or other legal documents they need help with? This is a legitimate question. Lol. It costs ROUGHLY $150 and 15 minutes to go to the court and get the papers filed. Easy remedy. Although, you may get more from FAFSA if you only file as having one parent. Kind of the opposite, but on my 18th birthday my father walked into my room with a bag of weed and a bunch of rolling papers and showed me the entire hidden portion of our house, not on blueprints, accessed through hidden door, that he used to grow weed. I had gotten grounded for smoking weed several times by that point in my life. This was in Florida in the 90s. I'm more intrigued by the house portion of the story. How had you never noticed that something on the outside of the house never matched up to the inside? Was the secret entrance something dramatic like a bookshelf on hinges? Very large house that my father designed himself. The hidden door was disguised as a closet inside of one of the garages. The door was always locked though, so for a while I just assumed the water heater and mechanical stuff was in there. Adoptive parent of 3 kids, 2 of which are biological siblings and cousins. Found out a year after the adoption that the biological parents were half siblings who shared the same dad. The BO parents found out after they had the first child and proceeded to have another. The kids are now 16 and 13 respectively and have zero clue that they are a product of incest. Unfortunately their biological grandpa just passed away, so there very well could be a big reveal coming in the near future. You probably already know this, but one generation of incest doesn't generally have any negative repercussions, unless their dad and both moms all had the same genetic disorders. IMHO, if you tell them, emphasize that even though it's socially weird, they are medically normal and a result of a consensual relationship. No abnormalities physically, due to the incest. They were however, neglected and malnourished in their early developmental years. This has caused them to be in the lower percentile for physical growth. They are both diagnosed with autism, which primarily affects their ability to form bonds. They are highly intelligent, just socially awkward. My son was planned, but after separating from his father when my son was 8 months old and having basically nowhere to go / no way to actually take care of us on our own, many times I thought about the possibility of dropping him off at the hospital and skipping town. I never did, and he is 8 now, and we are very happy. I just want to say this is a completely normal thought, but it's your actions that count. We all have thoughts we aren't proud of, but you persevered and that's what matters. Don't feel ashamed of what you didn't do. Be proud of what you did. And to anyone reading this who honestly and genuinely doesn't feel like they can manage being a parent, you're not a horrible person if you admit that and make arrangements for your child to go to someone who can. Sometimes being the best, most loving parent you can be means admitting you can't be one. It's okay. After all the acid we did, we thought you kids would be flipper babies. My parents were in the high school class of 1968. My dad had actually attended Woodstock when they got married. In their wedding picture, my mom had flowers in her hair and my dad had a beard that made him look like Jerry Garcia. Yet somehow I went through my entire childhood and adolescence without realizing my parents smoked pot. They obviously did a good job of hiding it. Then I came home unannounced one day from college and the house just reeked of pot, and it was like a light bulb went off in my head. Our oldest daughter claimed she had no idea. When she was 15, her new friend visited her house and said, "Oh yeah, your parents smoke weed. The music they listen to, the art on the walls." Our daughter said, "No way, I'd know if they smoked weed." Then she found our stash while looking for a tool in the basement a few months later. Not a parent but a child. This last Christmas I found out that not only was my mom had already been previously married and divorced, but my dad had a kid before he married my mom. So I have a half brother or sister that I have never met. The real kicker was I found it out from my new sister-in-law, who had someone did some digging, Found out, assumed that I must already know, and brought it up out of the blue on Christmas Eve while we were baking cookies. Why did she do some digging? My mom had alluded it to my eldest brother a long time ago when he was a late teen, after he got out of a really abusive relationship. About 5 years later, he met his current wife and married her. Sometime after that, he mentioned it to his wife, who had a really abusive family. Her mom had passed away, the only one in the family who cared about her, and I think it was meant to be a comfort thing, like she could talk to my mom about any troubles she felt, or whatever. Well, needless to say, my Zil got really interested that there was some dirt on my sweet, straight-laced mom who doesn't seem like the type to have any sort of past. It wasn't even a month after my Zil found out that she pretty much spilled it to the whole family. She told me first, and I about threw up out of shock. I quietly pulled my mom aside and made mention that her secrets might not be very secret any longer, just as a heads up, and then after that, in an entire separate and non-related incident, I learned about the thing with my dad. Nobody else knows about our half sibling except my sister. It was a pretty crappy 2 days. When I was a teenager, I'm 22 now, I found out that when my mom had me, my dad did not believe I was his kid. He even demanded a paternity test so he didn't have to pay child support on me because he really thought my mom had cheated on him during a business trip she went on. I don't know why, but a paternity test was never done, or maybe it was, and I've never been told, but it explained why I felt so distant with my dad for the first 10 years of my life. He always favored my older sister more when I was younger and called her daddy's little girl, etc. I felt like he hated me, and this explained why. Today he's the best dad ever. I don't know if something shifted or what, but me and him are extremely close now, and he loves me endlessly. He's been such a great dad, especially when I was suicidal in high school and had really bad depression and anxiety. My mom's a little bit bipolar, so I've always been in a toxic household, and he was the only one to come and pick me up and just be there for me. I'm so glad for you that he came around. You really needed that to happen, it seems. We hit the lottery for $12.5 million and nobody in our family, including our children, has any idea. Besides us and the government, the only other people who know is an attorney we hired to keep our identities private, as well as an accountant. We have kept our lives pretty normal. We both work, so there looks like there's an income coming in. We both enjoy what we do and didn't want to have anything change drastically. We just didn't want to ruin our relationships with everyone or spoil our kids. We have it safely invested for their futures, but not until they establish themselves on their own without any idea that there is a safety net. We support numerous charities. It's a blessing to win, but a bigger blessing not to be destroyed by money. Obviously this isn't my real name, which would defeat the whole purpose. Please be my mom, dad. My husband is in the army and we live in South Korea. It cost $2K to ship our dog here, so we decided to leave our cat with my husband's parents, since they love that cat and we knew they'd take good care of him. I just learned this week, while my husband's siblings are visiting us, that our cat was eaten by a coyote months ago, and my in-laws just never told us. Apparently their neighbors heard a coyote killing something in the middle of the night, and the next morning they saw orange fur and cat body parts in their yard. We have an almost 5-year-old daughter who loves that cat, and we have no idea how we are going to tell her. She recently drew a picture of him to show her friends in Korea, and even today talked about him and how much she misses him. It feels messed up not telling her, but it'll destroy her sensitive little heart. Just how abusive their biological father was to me, and how neglectful he was of our eldest, yet dependent on her emotionally. Also, that he never wanted a son, and that he never had any interest in anything to do with our second born. My biggest fear is them seeing exactly what he did to me, though. They don't notice the way my heart wants to leap out of my chest when there's a knock on the door. They think I won't let them play alone in the front yard because of cars going past, not because I'm scared their BO father may find them and snatch them. Same as how they believe I just hate big crowds and rude people pushing and shoving, not because I'm constantly on edge looking for that one face. They'll never know I broke down to their school principal about our past after seeing one of the EXS Facebook posts. They'll never know the carefree person I used to be, though, and that sucks. My eldest, just shy of 8 now, has started asking questions, and being that one of her earliest memories is of coming home to me in a police car because daddy was too sick to take care of me, so the police brought me home. I'm going to have to explain a little more soon enough. It's been 3.5 years since my kids have had any contact with him. Explaining the past terrifies me. That my 8-year-old daughter is not mine. I met her mother, my wife, when she was 3 months pregnant. Neither of us knew until about a month or two into dating. What I didn't know was that this girl was the one. When she found out, she told me and gave me a free pass to leave. She did not just want me sticking around just for the benefits of dating a pregnant chick then skipping out. I made the choice then to take the leap. Best decision I ever made and never looked back. Now we have my daughter and a 3-year-old son. I don't plan on ever volunteering the information to her, but will tell her if she asks when she is older. The father skipped out to go and cut off ties when he found out. Fine by me though. As far as everyone, including the government, knows, I'm her father. On the birth certificate and everything. But the way I see it, I am. I was there the entire pregnancy, the birth, and every day since. I was 22 at the time. One of my teachers told our class a story that absolutely blew everyone's mind. Growing up, he had an older sister and 2 parents. Pretty standard family situation. One thing that he said confused him as a kid was how much older his sister was. I think it was like 16 plus years older than him. So when he was in high school, he straight up asked his parents if he was a mistake. If I'm remembering the story right, his parents told him he wasn't meant to happen, and that was that. Didn't really affect him at all considering he was old enough to understand and knew his parents loved him anyway. Fast forward to his adult life, about 35, 40 at this point. Both of his parents passed away and his sister lived across the country. One year his sister came to visit him and his wife for a week. They went around doing various things that were representative of where he lived, landmarks, well-known towns, restaurants, etc. He said they had a great time. Near the end of his sister's trip, she told my teacher and his wife that she needed to tell them something important. He said she seemed pretty distraught in saying this, and as a result he thought she was going to tell them she had some serious illness or something along those lines. It was tense for a few minutes. The sister couldn't get out what she was trying to say. This just made my teacher and his wife more concerned. Finally she told them, I'm not actually your sister, I'm your mother. Turns out his parents were actually his grandparents and his sister had him very young, 16, 17, with some guy she met. In order to give him and his mother, sister a normal life, his grandparents, parents just treated him as their son and raised him themselves. He mentioned being very grateful that they did this for him as he did have a normal childhood and his mother was able to live without having the stress of being a young mother. To this day, him and his mother have a very positive relationship and this reveal to him didn't change anything. Not really a messed up secret, but I thought it was a cool story that fit this theme.